Hi guys, welcome to Karlpopewoodcraft. I'm Karl. In this video we're going to turn this ugly old bathroom cabinet from this to this. A nice modern slate grey unit. Hello. And it now matches well with the bathroom and the under the sink unit cabinet what I made. And there's a full video for that, as well. And the towel rail and towel storage unit, which is looking a little bit scruffy, needs a bit tidy. And there's full videos for both of them things as well. I started off by dismantling the whole cabinet, and this was really easy to do as it was only fastened together with dry dowels, no glue, and 4 screws on the top and 4 screws on the bottom. The glass panels just slipped straight out, and so did the back panel. The handles came off easily as they was just attached with 1 screw, and these was lightly fastened. The dowels was also easy to remove as these had no glue on it and they just pulled straight out with the pliers. I then sanded all the individual pieces down with the orbital sander at 120 grit and then did some hand sanding on the edges. These runners where the glass slides, we're just going to apply some frog tape as not to get any paint in there. Just where it overlaps, I'm just going to use this craft knife and slice it and remove it. I then applied several coats of grey primer, leaving to dry for half an hour in between each coat. We've finished the undercoating now, and we're going to apply the top coat, which I've got this white furniture paint and some charcoal furniture paint. And this charcoal furniture paint is a bit dark, so we're going to mix it with the white just to take the edge off it. When you mix paints like this, they've definitely got to be both acrylic or both oil based, and then you need to give them a thorough mix in. I applied 4 thin coats with the paint over a 2-day period, giving plenty of time to dry in between coats. I used the roller, a small foam roller, to apply the paint. If you enjoyed today's video guys, don't forget to like, subscribe and comment, and feel free to share with any like-minded individuals who like these type of videos. I've lots of playlists with all sorts of builds from shop furniture to home furniture and jigs and tool reviews. In between coats, I lightly sprayed with some water and give a very light rub down with some 400 grit sandpaper, and then removed the excess slurry with a damp cloth, and then proceeded with the next coat. The original back panel had some significant damage where the screws go through into the wall, so I had to replace this. And luckily I've got some of this hardboard what was donated to me by my neighbour, which is also the right colour as well, which was great. So all I did is simply draw around that, and then I cut it out on the table. So obviously this is a really thin material, so you could use a jigsaw to cut this or a hand saw. You don't need a table saw at all. With the handles, I found these a little bit fiddly to paint, so I attached them to a piece of wood, and then I found that so much easier just to get the paint on there and throw them on there to dry. Before we spray the lacquer on, I've decided to do a dry assembly with just the dowels loosely fitted, because I do believe it's going to be a lot easier to lacquer the whole thing, put assembled rather than broken down into pieces, because you have to keep flipping them over. Everything was nice and straightforward to put back together. I popped the dowels in dry, no glue needed, and all the hardware back on. Sometimes it's great to do a project like this where it's quite stress-free, and it's great to see a piece of furniture, even just a little cheap piece like this, just repurposed and reused so you don't have to throw it away. I applied several coats of this spray lacquer, and the one thing I do like about this spray lacquer is it dries really fast and you can get another coat on within half an hour. It's then just a simple case of reassembling the unit back together, attaching the handles, being careful not to over tighten the screw in the back because you don't want to crack the mirror. Attaching the backing board back on, and I replaced these two small triangle pieces which just support it against the wall on the bathroom wall, and I just applied some super glue and some activator and then just held them in place. I knew where to apply these triangle pieces by marking directly off the old backing board just to get the screw holes in the right location. I then removed the duct tape that was protecting the grooves for the mirrors to run down, and this did a great job of not allowing any paint in there. I then pretended I was awesome at basketball by faking a long throw into the bin, when really I pretended to throw it in and then went right next to it and chucked it in. Again, everything else just slotted back together nice and simply. No problems whatsoever, and I just tightened all the screws up, made sure everything was running smoothly, and that was the job complete. All I had to do now was attach it back onto the wall, and I also added a small light onto the bottom of the cabinet, and this is just a press switch light which comes on and it goes off on a timer, and it's only battery powered, so there's no danger of electricity. If you've watched until now, you're an absolute legend, and if you haven't, you're a divvy and you don't even know it because you've already left. Cheers guys, and I'll catch you next Saturday. Bye!